Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India News Hour, President Putin's visit to India and the current and future trajectory of India-Russia relations. Joining us are Ambassador C. Shekhar and Mr. Sandeep Tripathi. Ambassador Shekhar is a former Indian envoy to Cuba, Dominican Republic and Haiti. Mr. Tripathi is a foreign affairs commentator. Gentlemen, welcome to DD India News Hour. Ambassador, if I can come to you first, did the summit outcomes tick all the right boxes for you?
Yes, of course. This may be the most productive 30 hours, making it a landmark visit in the growth and development of India-Russia relations. They are time-tested. Prime Minister said these are like the Dhruv Tara, lodestar.
That's right.
In a constant in the times of uncertainty and geopolitical complexity.
Indeed. Mr. Tripathi, what did you make of a 2030 economic roadmap? By the way, its official title or name is fairly long. Program for the Development of Strategic Areas of India-Russia Economic Cooperation till 2030. Your thoughts, Mr. Tripathi?
First of all, there was lots of talk regarding the oil and defense deal. But I think this visit focused beyond the oil and defense, and that is why in the business forum, both leaders have expressed a deep commitment to just to maintain this trade relations as balanced. So balanced trade relations means that whatever we have a trade deficit with Russia, both leaders will try to focus on to maintain and to balance, especially India, because currently we have a $59 billion deficit. So this is a real concern. I think both leadership tried to overcome these challenges in terms of the new avenues of opportunity, like mobility programs, human resource. At least 10 lakhs people should be there in Russia. And my personal experience is that in Russia, there are lots of opportunity, for example, in pharma, agricultural products and all. So even Putin himself invited Indian business lobby, please come in Russia and try to make influence in terms of the cultural expansion. So I think only this is way that will reduce the trade deficit with Russian Federation.
Indeed. Ambassador Shekhar, are you surprised that the focus has almost entirely been on trade and commerce? Or are we missing something here in terms of tangible outcomes insofar as defense and security cooperation is concerned?
Far from that. In fact, economic expansion of economic partnership, broad-basing trade investment relationship, with a clear roadmap leading up to the year 2030, of course, forms the centerpiece of the partnership. But at the same time, also was there in the delegation, the Russian defense minister. He had detailed deliberations with Indian Raksha Mantriji, also delegation level talks to further deepen and enhance strong defense cooperation that we have. And there have been agreements to strengthen our Make in India program and also to promote Atmanirbhar Bharat so that our defense production capabilities increase. And there have been very detailed discussions. In terms of outcome, there were 16 MOUs and agreements signed and 5 outcomes. So very productive by and all visit that we must say. There are different components. Economic, of course, is centerpiece. Defense, security, collaboration, cooperation also is an important factor.
Right. Mr. Tripathi, how do Russia and India intend to insulate their trade from the twin effects or impacts of one, Western sanctions on Russian entities, and two, US tariffs on India? Then there are the related issues of payment mechanism, banking services, protection of investments, government's role in facilitating trade, and last but not the least, incentivizing private players to venture into Russia.
Very interesting question and important question. See, I see from the both sides. First, from the Russian side, President Putin reaffirmed and reassured that there will be uninterrupted supply of oil, crude oil to India. That is the one point, without any pressure. And he has sidelined any kind of sanction politics and the pressure coming from the West first. Second, from Indian point of view, India has already sidelined the US concern in terms of the tariff, because we are facing 25% tariff just because India buys crude oil from Russia, and it is claim and argument made by the USA and Western countries that Indian oils fuels war, and if USA imports uranium, it fuels peace. This is the double standard played by the Western countries. So we are very clear about our agenda and mission. And the mission is that both leaders, especially Prime Minister Modi and President Putin, they are very clear about their trade boost and diversify the trade beyond the defense and oil. This is the one point. Second point that you mentioned here, that in the defense sector also, reciprocity exchange of logistic support is a major boost in defense pact in terms of India and Russia defense cooperation. Both countries are willingness to provide a basis for the training, for the joint exercises, and from any kind of disaster management. So I think these are the milestones in this visit, Relo's Pact, and in trade beyond oil and defense, because we all talking about the defense, we all talking about the oil, nobody's talking about, and that is why this space is open to bridge this gap. The gap is that to open skilled forces, skilled human resources in Russia. Putin invited Indian youths, please come in Russia and invest your vision, energy, and potential in Russian market. Pharma sector, agriculture sector, food product, lots of areas of cooperation are there. I think this is the first time that both countries are going to beyond traditional areas of cooperation, defense and oil. Oil is something you can say it is something coincidental. It's not you can say a fruitful trade relation, because after 2022, we have around $68 billion. Before that, it was 30. So it surges because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So we want to maintain and sustain our trade relationship with the wide range of, with the wide avenues of commodity.
Indeed, fair point. But Shekhar, there's no denying that trade without connectivity is a non-starter. So can we expect renewed focus on infrastructure to support the goal of achieving a $100 billion trade turnover by 2030? I ask you this because Prime Minister Modi, for one, is bullish on the idea of connectivity. He has spoken about the international North-South transport corridor, the Northern Sea Route, and the Chennai-Vladivostok maritime corridor.
Precisely. You mentioned, say, let's place this, how to enhance, promote, expand economic partnership. It may fall into the categories of insulating the growth of trade investment from other pressures, external pressures, to broad-basing trade and investment into diversified areas. Third one is facilitating and promoting, including through connectivity. You have mentioned those connectivity issues. And in terms of facilitation, there have been ongoing efforts, building blocks, like more than 20 banks have opened a special rupee Vostro account for settling, making international trade, between Russia and India, trade settlements. And the two countries have been promoting encouraging the captains of industry and trade. Today, there have been several agreements, including in the area of producing urea in Russia for the benefit of both Russia and India, and also co-production, co-innovation, and as you said, long named the roadmap leading up to the year 2030 to take the present two-way bilateral trade to $100 billion. Presently, it stands at about 70, 68, $69 billion, out of which only about $5 billion constitute India's export. The focus this time has been how India can broad base, increase the basket of Indian exports, several key areas including pharmaceuticals, agriculture, tourism. So India offering 1 month gratis visa, e-visa for Russian tourists and also group tourists is also a factor in this direction, that we want to see more Russian tourists traveling to India. That would, one, promote mutual understanding, greater understanding about India and Russia, and also two, would promote Indian tourism products to address the trade imbalance. Both leaders have agreed that they shall encourage institutionally sustained and diversified growth so that there will be two-way trade of $100 billion by the year 2030.
Right. Mr. Tripathi, if I were to expand the scope and ambit of our discussion, President Putin thanked Prime Minister Modi in particular for paying how he described as special attention to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Now, for his part, Prime Minister Modi says that India is on the side of peace and that he hopes for an early return to peace. Now, can India, which is in contact with all parties to the conflict, play the role of a peacemaker, you think?
Very important questions. See, India has lots of potential. I think India has shown its potential that only India can do this peace deal, and because the kind of credential we have. And that is why, even in the last 2 years back in Samarkand summit, Prime Minister Modi had appealed for the dialogue and diplomacy to resolve this conflict. Even today, it was the annual summit, it was a bilateral summit, but the very first statement given by a Prime Minister that we are seeking a more secure and peace world. We are very open to extend our support to resolve, to diffuse this conflict between Iran and Ukraine and Russia. And that's why, and no other country like US and European countries, they don't have such kind of credential. They are pushing for because in behind of the peace deal. Everyone knows about the Trump's intention. Everyone knows about the NATO and European countries' intention. And that is why even Zelensky himself wanted to have kind of dialogue. And even NATO chief also so many times requested that Indian Prime Minister has a potential to resolve this issue. And that is why beyond this bilateral summit, beyond this annual summit, Indian Prime Minister had reaffirmed its commitment that we are willing to resolve this, to mediate with the two forces, Ukraine and Russia, and let's resolve this war zone, and we hope for any kind of long-lasting peace and tranquility.
Ambassador Shekhar, is there scope for Russia and India to extend their cooperation to third countries or regions, namely Afghanistan, Central Asia, or even the Arctic?
India-Russia friendship and cooperation is a factor for stability and peace in these times of geopolitical uncertainty. And the two leaders exchanged notes on regional developments. Of course, expectedly, lion's share, large portion of the time went to the President Putin briefing the Prime Minister about the ongoing efforts and the latest situation on the Ukraine front. President Putin has received American proposal to end the war, and on that President Putin has briefed that Russia stands positively, and India said that India is not on the side of is not neutral, but it's clearly and steadfastly on the side of peace. And we would like to see the cessation of hostilities soonest and India stands by to help in any and every possible manner. Of course, the other issues like Afghanistan, Arctic were mentioned, but not as in such greater detail.
And finally, before we close this discussion, Mr. Tripathi, is the famed camaraderie between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin still very much intact? Prime Minister Modi personally receiving President Putin at the airport, the proverbial hug, and then a power ride in the Prime Minister's car to a private dinner. What did you make of the symbolism of it all?
This is the car diplomacy. This is symbolism that if the friendship are the time tested, the friendship are historically a very reliable partnership, no matter any protocol. Protocol doesn't exist if our friendship are very intact in terms of the trust and in terms of the reliability.
Right. On that note, may I thank both our guests, Mr. Tripathi and Ambassador Shekhar, for joining us and sharing your perspectives, your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.